Hey folks, it's Sarge. Thanks for tuning in today. We're going to talk about managing your mental health and the mental health of your family during times of quarantine. Stay with me now. All right, thanks for staying with me. Let's go over a couple housekeeping things first of all. You probably noticed in the title that I put down words like coronavirus and COVID-19. In some of my previous videos, you heard me mention that YouTube is sort of punishing people, content providers who are using those words. We're going to take a chance here and see that this gets out because this video is particularly important. I want to make sure it gets to the people who are looking for this kind of information. So, that being said, if you want to disseminate this information or share it on any other social media platform, please feel free. I grant full permission. If you are a therapist or counselor, this is part of my mental health series, which I always give permission to therapists and counselors to use however you see fit. You can share it with your clients, you can use it as a teaching tool, and we're going to be talking a lot about mental health issues today and how to manage them, not just during a quarantine, but in general in terms of when we have some kind of crisis. So second thing is, yes, I do have a whole mental health series. You can go over to, after you're done watching this, go over to my page and subscribe, and there's a mental health playlist. I regularly upload topics related to mental health and counseling and welcome any feedback on that stuff. Please give me comments, please share it, and definitely if you're a therapist or counselor, feel free to use it as a teaching tool. So just briefly regarding my credentials, I'm a master's level licensed therapist. I've been working in the field for 20 years. I've had extensive trainings. As a licensed therapist, you're required to do regular continuing education. I've had a lot of training in trauma. I've had a lot of training in depression, anxiety, panic attacks, all of the stuff that's kind of related to what we're going to talk about today. And I've been licensed in 3 different states. Worked with every population that you can imagine. I've worked in the private sector, the public sector, state, county government, for-profit, non-profit, and just want to let you know, bringing a little bit of experience and expertise to this, okay? So it's not just somebody shooting off the hip about mental health issues that really doesn't necessarily have the credentials to back them up. So let's move on. So let's talk about this from 3 different perspectives: the physical, the social, and the cognitive, the mental health, the thought part of it. Okay, so first thing is, let's talk about the physical piece of it. So our bodies follow a pattern called circadian rhythms, right? That's your natural ebb and flow that everybody has. They're going to be different from person to person, but there's some stuff that tends to be more universal. Like in general, humans are meant to be asleep at nighttime. There are people who work third shift. We need people to work third shift, but in general, we're kind of hardwired for sleeping at nighttime. So while your family is at home during the quarantine, we do in the field, if you talk to anybody who's got a little bit of expertise in terms of this kind of stuff, they're going to tell you, try to stay with whatever your normal rhythm is. Same bedtimes, as close to it as you can possibly get. And this goes for the kids in your household too. Waking up at the same time, get in the shower at the same time. Do as much of that routine as you possibly can. Having that sense of regularity to your circadian rhythms is going to help you to maintain a sense of normalcy. And that's going to, having that same sleep pattern is super important for managing mood. There's certain things that happen when we go into sleep that release neurotransmitters and hormones in the brain that you need for regulating mood. And if you start to disrupt that too much, you're actually going to make issues like depression and anxiety much, much worse, and agitation too. So keep that sleep pattern the same. Keep your day pattern as similar to your structure as you can. That's managing the circadian rhythms. Okay, so that's part 1. Part 2 of the physical piece of this is, I know that this is going to create some more tendencies to be a little bit more sedentary than usual. That's a big mistake. We really want to try to keep up a pattern of physical movement, physical wellness as best you can. So Yard work and house cleaning, sure, that will count. But I would also encourage people to be thinking about doing some exercises from at home, a little bit every day, or go out. And it is okay in most places, unless you're super congested in your neighborhood, go for a walk in your neighborhood, and just maintain some good distance from other people who might be walking around. Having some general physical fitness, because there's a mind-body connection. And this also plays a huge role in managing depression, anxiety, reducing agitation, and overall, I can't tell you how long we're going to be stuck in this situation, but the more you do this, the better you're going to stave off that quarantine effect on your mental health. And another good reason to do that, obviously, is if you catch COVID-19, you do want to be as healthy as you possibly can prior to catching it, because that's going to give you your best chance to fight it off. Okay. Also, regarding the physical aspects of managing your mental health during the quarantine, I'm working on talking to a local expert, somebody that I used to know when I lived in Kentucky, an expert that I have a lot of respect for. We're trying to coordinate a collaborative video on some exercises you can do at this time that are good for our physical and mental health. We're just working out the logistics of that, and I hope to be able to bring you that pretty soon. Let's talk about part two, the social piece of this, right? So obviously, as this is going on in our country, and we're dealing with the need for social distancing, people are going to feel, there's going to be a tendency to feel more lonely, disconnected, and that is really bad for mental health. It's going to be bad for everybody. There's going to be some increase in depression, some increase in anxiety, and some increase in agitation. So how are we going to manage this, folks? We're human beings are social creatures, and we have to be able to have this feeling of connectedness. Well, obviously you've got your family unit, right? That unless you're living by yourself, in which case the next part of this is even more important for you. But outside of your regular family unit or the people that you're living with, you still need to be somewhat social, and that can be also online. You can talk to your friends online. That can be doing FaceTime and Skype with your loved ones, and I encourage people to do that. Call your friends and family that you haven't talked to in a while. And even in most places in your neighborhoods, you can go outside and talk to your neighbors. Just give yourself a good amount of distance. Go to the to the fence. Kind of think about what was that show, Tim the Toolman there, and his neighbor that would peek over the fence. Talk to your neighbors. You still got to have that sense of social connectiveness. It is really, really important. And also, since we're talking about the concept of managing the social isolation during this quarantine, I really also would encourage families to think about those social activities that you can do together at home, even if you're indoors, that will give you that connectedness, right? So I think it's okay to binge watch a little bit of Netflix. I think it's okay for the kids to be playing a little bit more video games than they usually would, or a little bit more iPad time, or whatever they're using than they normally would, right? Because this is an extraordinary circumstance. But it's not okay for us to have that be the only thing that we're doing, our only coping skills. So, most people in your homes, you've got a board game sitting somewhere. You got an old puzzle sitting somewhere. You probably have some craft supplies sitting around somewhere. But if you don't, get together and learn how to cook a meal together. Or, like the video that I'm posting about teach your kids how to garden. Do something that's outside of that realm of just watching Netflix too, right? I'm not bashing Netflix. My wife and I watched movie on HBO last night. That's okay. We're going to do a little bit more of that than we normally would, but don't make that the only coping skill that you're using. All right, so let's talk about the cognitive piece of this, and this is the last part for this particular video. I posted a video up about managing panic, right? And in there, I talk a lot about the cognitive skill that we call thought stopping. I'm going to post a link to that up above here, so you can go and check that out. Also check out the video on relaxation breathing. So if your anxiety gets really, really hyped up during this, I want you to have those tools in your toolbox, if nothing else, right? But we're also, at the end here, I'm going to talk a little bit about reframing. and I've got some material that I'm going to share there. But let's spend a minute here talking also about thinking about the future and the next time we're in a long-term crisis situation. And it may not be a pandemic next time. Maybe it's going to be a natural disaster. Maybe it's going to be some kind of aggressive act of war. Maybe it's going to be another stock market crash, and maybe it's going to be tons of unemployment. We just don't know. We just know, but we do know there's going to be more crises. So we want to build our therapeutic toolbox for how are we all going to be better prepared to deal with these situations in the future. So I posted a video on general, preparedness and that kind of thing. So years ago, I went to a training with a group called the National Organization of Victims Assistance, and it was a very intensive week-long training on doing therapy and post-care for people after they've experienced a very big traumatic event. Okay, and this is one of the groups that responds when you have a situation like the Oklahoma City bombing or 9/11 or whatever. And one of the aspects that they teach in that is prepare and predict, okay? Because when a person has a sense that they are prepared and they are able to predict what's coming next, they tend to have more of a sense that they've got a little bit of control in a situation that feels like it's out of control. That alone will do wonders for people's mental health. So I am also working on getting a guest that's going to be speaking to us about preparedness and how to do so on within the means or within the budget that you've got, so that the next time a major crisis hits us, you're in a little bit better shape. Okay, having some sense that, okay, yeah, this really stinks. We're going through this massive situation in the United States, but I did take some steps to be ready for this, right? Will make you feel a whole lot better the next time we're in a bad situation. So we talked about cognitive thought stopping. Check out that video. I'm working on getting you that guest as soon as I can. And again, we're just trying to work out some logistics. I have somebody who I very much admire, but we're just working out the details on that right now. I'm going to give you some cognitive reframing ideas here at the end, but also distraction, distress tolerance skills. That comes from our Marshall Lenehan, who wrote the therapeutic techniques for dialectical behavioral therapy. So distraction and distress tolerance, have some stuff that's going to keep your mind occupied while this is all going on. You probably have books on your bookshelf that you didn't finish reading. Learn a new skill from YouTube. I'm getting ready here to work on my garden a little bit today. Even though it's really cloudy outside, I'm going to take advantage of it, try to get a little bit more seeds in the ground. Learn a new skill. Maybe there's a puzzle that you've got sitting at home. Have something that just kind of takes your mind off of what's going on. Unplug from the TV a little bit. It's good to be watching the presidential updates and your governor's updates, but too much of the TV when we're going through a national crisis will actually make your anxiety worse. So stay informed, but don't watch it all day long. Don't do 6 hours, 8 hours a day of just watching CNN or MSNBC. It's not good for your mental health. Okay, so distraction and distress tolerance. All right, so we're going to finish up with, I'm going to pause here, and when I go back inside, I'll finish up on that reframing stuff. Stay with me now. All right, folks, and so let's finish with the cognitive reframing. So in my field, in the field of psychology and counseling and therapy, we also have a concept for just kind of changing our thoughts that we call positive reframing. I kind of, in my practice, when I'm working with people, I talk about it as cognitive reframing because sometimes it's really hard to come up with, to take a situation and turn it positive. So cognitive reframing, maybe taking that situation and making it a little bit more, less catastrophic, a little bit more in the realm of, okay, I can manage this thought as opposed to that thought. So the Florida Association of Counseling actually did a post via sumairaz.com, sumairaz.com, that is going around social media, and I'm just going to share that, give a credit to them, but share that because I think these are good reframes. So one thought that may be going through your head would be, I'm stuck at home. Well, how do we reframe that? I get to be in my home and spend time with my family, right? I get to be home and spend time with my family. That's a reframe that's a little bit more, it should be a lot better than I'm stuck at home. How about a cognitive thought of, I will get sick? Well, a different way to think about that, a reframe would be, I will self-isolate and wash my hands, and this will significantly decrease my chances of getting sick. Gives a little bit more sense of control. I will run out of items at home during the self-isolation. Well, a cognitive reframe could be, I've prepared myself for this and I will use my items wisely. I have everything I need for now. I will also add to that, and this was not in that post, but you could also say, if I run out of items, then I can be creative and find solutions to my problems and other ways to handle that, right? So we know that there's other alternatives to toilet paper. We may not necessarily like them, but there are alternatives. That would be kind of your solutions-focused approach. That's a different modality, solutions-focused therapy, but it does tie in with cognitive behavioral therapy. Okay, the next one would be, everything is shutting down and I'm panicking. Well, we could reframe that to the most important places such as medical centers, pharmacies, grocery stores are going to remain open. Gas stations are going to remain open. Okay. Another one would be, there's too much uncertainty right now. Well, I can't control the situation around me. I can control my actions. Doing breathing work, calling my loved ones, getting enough sleep, proper nutrition, prayer, doing activities I love at home. All of these will help during this time. And actually, that's all the stuff that we talked about in this video, right? Okay, so let's end with that today. We gave you a lot to think about. We've got our physical ways to manage our mental health. We've got our social ways to manage our mental health. And we finished with our cognitive thought ways to manage our mental health, okay? Bottom line here, folks, we're gonna get through this as a nation. We're gonna come out stronger from this, okay? So stay safe, take care of your family, take all the precautions you need to be doing to manage that safety. But we are gonna get through this. Think positive, do everything you need to take care of your physical and mental health, okay? Please remember to subscribe if this has been helpful. Watch for my other videos on mental health. And check out my gardening videos, and I've got some product reviews that also talk about preparedness and that kind of stuff. So that also ties into what we're talking about here, okay? Until next time, this is Sarge. Thank you for coming by.